Archie. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you doing?
Doing well, thank you. Tell us a little bit about your background and what made you want to serve on Sumter Habitat for Humanity's Board of Directors.
Well, I was born in Florence, but my father was in the Air Force, and he was stationed in Shaw. My mother and father ended up buying a home here, and that was a very important point in my life experience. So I'll tell you about it in a minute. But so Sumter was our home. He would be stationed in other places, but we'd always come back home. And so, when the opportunity to serve on Habitat came up, given the fact that I know how important homes are to families and how it makes life more stable, it's just it's a good thing. It's a good organization. I know of it through what I've read and what I've seen. I think Jimmy Carter is 97 today.
Wow.
His birthday is today when we're filming.
Wow.
And so he's a good man, and he's in large measure a force behind this. And so, when I had the opportunity to do this, I wanted to do it. I'm happy that I have.
We're happy to have you on the board, for sure. What did you know about Habitat for Humanity, which we kind of talked about just now, before being asked to serve? Did you know about the Sumter affiliate, or did you just know about it as a whole?
Well, a little bit of both. In the sense that I knew about the Sumter organization because of the Restore. My wife loves going to the Restore, and she would take me down there from time to time. So I knew about the Sumter that way, and I knew about the international, because we lived, a good part of my adult life. My wife and I have lived outside the United States, and this is an international organization as well, and so it's a meaningful thing. And I like the idea of, and I found this out now that I'm a board member, that, in addition to providing opportunities to people that they might not otherwise have to buy their own home, they also have this notion of sweat equity, which I think is so important. Because you can't qualify for one of these Habitat homes unless you engage in either helping build it or working in the Restore or something like that. And it's critical to feel the connection to the home. I remember when my father was stationed in MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, and he was assigned back to Shaw Air Force Base in Sumter, and we came back and we painted the house. And I remember I was assigned the trim work, and so, it connects you to the house. My mother and father bought that house when I was a young, very small. And I remember how important it was. I remember the day of the closing. I don't remember very much more than that, but I remember something big was happening. And my mother and father, lived in that house until my father passed away in the house. And my mother went to Covenant Place when she got older, passed away there. But that was their home after they bought it. So Sumter is my home in large measure because of that home. So
Home is where the heart is.
Yeah, and so that's why I think Habitat's so special.
And I want to kind of go on what you just said. I'm pretty sure your wife is probably not in town, but tomorrow we have a 50% off sale at the Restore, and that is in celebration of International World Habitat Day, which is on Monday, October 4th. So, just breaking off from what you just said, because you just covered a lot of good topics. So, let's get on to the next question. Why were you interested in committing your time and energy to this organization? So I'm sure you had the trust to be part of others.
Well, my background is, I'm a lawyer by training, and I'm a tax lawyer by focus, and I'm for some reason I'm interested in numbers, and I like details, and I like budgets, and I like financial statements, and I think over the decades of my work in the tax area, I've gotten accustomed to that, and I thought I could just add some, I could be of value, to have that. So when I was asked, I thought, I have been asked to do other things, and usually I'm pretty accommodating. this is a special place.
Well, one thing I admire is that you are able to see outside of where you are in your life, and you notice things, and you want to help people that are underserved. You want to help people that aren't necessarily in your social bubbles, and that's something a lot of people don't do. So
I remember living in a trailer, and I remember when as I was just saying, I remember when my mother and father were closing on the house, and how much it meant to them. And when you're younger and you see your parents getting so enthused and so excited and so committed to each other, the family, and the place, I mean, it burns on your soul. So,
it works hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the great characteristics that make a good board member?
Well, I think I think fundamental blocking and tackling is what I'm going to talk about. I mean, I think you have to read about these, and you have to be prepared for the meeting. You shouldn't just show up and sort of try to wing it. I mean, you should know what's going to be discussed. Try to review the materials a little bit, so that your comments can be helpful and not just sort of just talk. So I think that's what a board member does. And then the other thing that's important, you have to a good board member, I would think, cares about the organization. I mean, if you don't think much of the organization, you can be a member of the board, but you're not going to be a good member of the board. So
Planning and caring, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah, I agree. Board members bring experience, wisdom, good reputation, strategic thinking, and their Rolodex is usually support. What do you think that you bring to the table as a board member?
Well, you talk to Sarah, and she sometimes complains about me, that I get into the details, and I look for the weeds, and so I think that I bring that either benefit or detriment. I mean, because it can cut both ways. You can get on somebody's nerves if you keep pointing out the small stuff. I mean, Sarah's the one that's bought me. You may remember that book, Don't Sweat the Small Stuff.
Yeah.
So she gave me that for Christmas, I think twice.
That's funny.
And so I'm a worrier, so I try to anticipate things, and I don't do a great job of that, but I try to. And so just attention to detail is what I think that's what.
I'm the same way because I think weeds kill flowers, don't they? So so you can't grow beautiful things if you have weeds. So I think that's a great thing to have. Assuming you have learned even more about Sumter Habitat joining the board, is there anything in particular that stands out to you, or you were surprised to learn about the organization? I know you mentioned sweat equity earlier, but is there anything else?
Well, when I joined, I knew that it was a very good, solid organization. I guess what sort of surprised me and impressed me at the same time was how organized it is. I mean, before attending a board meeting as a board member, I attended a sort of a board meeting as an observer, and before that, had a meeting to go over the board members' responsibilities and handbook. And so there's a lot of organizations of the thing, which a lot of boards don't have. I mean, some, and I attribute that in part to the fact that this is a larger organization, and Sumter is an affiliate of a larger organization, and the Sumter affiliate has to abide by the overall rules and so forth, and so that's part of it. But the other part of it is there are people that are there that themselves are organized and want to do things in accordance with the structure, and I think that in turn leads to building homes, because you can't just build a home because you want to. You've got to have a plan. You got to have a framework,
Right.
You know, you gotta have foundation, all that sort of stuff before you put the walls in and all the windows and all that. So you know, it shows. And so I guess if I would have thought about it, I would have probably anticipated that it would have been a very organized place. But the organization impressed me.
Well, I always like to tell board members that boards build houses, basically. So that if we wouldn't be, an affiliate or do half of what we have if it weren't for our board. So we appreciate y'all service for sure. Being one of our new and valued board members, are you able to say where you would like to see the organization in 3 to 5 years?
I'm a little hesitant to say that only because I've only been there, a few months now, and so I don't know what what the thinking is on that. I know that a lot of the focus has been on the city of Sumter environment, and that's very, very necessary. It just seems to me that with proper funding, proper focus, we could perhaps go to the county. I don't know. I don't know. That's one thing. The other thing that I do know is part of the plan, and there's been a request made of the city of Sumter for some American Rescue Plan Act funds, is that part of the activities of Habitat could be, in addition to building homes, repairing things, because there is a tremendous need in the city of Sumter and around the world, of repair, because maintenance is so important. And so I think that expanding into the repair area and just growing, because the need is in Sumter, but it's outside of Sumter.
Yeah, it is.
In the county.
So we basically just want some more funding, or we want some funding from the city of Sumter, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, under the American Rescue Plan Act, one of the provisions of the act says that the recipients of those funds, such as Sumter, city of Sumter, or the county of Sumter, or the state of Sumter, the state of South Carolina, can themselves turn over funds to 501c3 organizations, charitable nonprofit organizations, to do work in accordance with the objectives of the American Rescue Plan Act, and that's what the request is about.
I think it was a pretty big pool of money that Sumter received, right?
Yeah. It's in the millions of dollars.
Right.
Millions and millions
So
of
hopefully
dollars.
they'll be able to share the wealth a little bit.
We'll see. I hope so.
All right, Mr. Parnell, in closing, what would you like to tell those from the Sumter community why they should consider Sumter Habitat for Humanity when deciding on a charity or nonprofit organization to donate to or volunteer for?
Well, I mean, just in my own life, I know how important it is to have a home. And a home provides the setting for so many positive family things, and it's just it's so meaningful in people's lives. I deal with people in my day to day, every day, not every day, but day to day, where they some of the folks I interact with don't have stable backgrounds and stable homes and things like that, and I know the stress that goes through their life, and to the extent that we're in a position that we can help, helping somebody get a stable home does so much for them in terms of their self-esteem, so much for them in their commitment to living a constructive life and so forth. It's just a positive thing, and so home, it goes almost without saying. Where's your home? Your home. It's such a simple part of anyone's life, and if you can have a home that you own, that makes a big difference.
Help build.
And that you help build,
Maybe
and
take even more care of it.
and then you help build it, and you pay for it. So it's important. So Habitat for Humanity is a hand. It's not a hand out; it's a hand up. So I know that's a cliche, but this is that in real life.
And I know that you love the Sumter community. The one thing I like to point out to people is these homeowners are people that want to live and work in the Sumter community. They want to work, they want to live here, and they want to make it better. So we need to help make that a possibility for this. So, yeah, so I appreciate your time. I appreciate you serving on the board and all that you do. Thank you for having us.
Well, thank you, Kate. I appreciate it. Thank you for asking me to do this.
Yes, sir. Thank you.